Hi, today we're going to take a look at the Lume Cube, which is this tiny battery-powered LED light which can be controlled using an app on your smartphone, just like this. So let's take a look at the Lume Cube, what it can do and how it works. So let's start by taking a closer look at the Lume Cube and its specs. As you can see, this is a pretty small LED light. If we measure it, it's about 1.65 inches on each side, or about 4 centimeters. It's also very light. It's about 100 grams or 3.5 ounces. Now, it is a bit larger than the Relio, which is this light on this side, which we have tested last year. It was designed in Italy. But it has a big advantage over the Relio. It has an integrated battery, while the Relio actually needs to be powered using a USB cable. And we will talk about the battery life on the Lume Cube later on in this video. Now, another big advantage of the Lume Cube on the Relio is the power. While the Relio is about 500 lumens, the Lume Cube is 1500 lumens, so this is about 3 times more powerful than the Relio. So this is a huge advantage. Now, in terms of the color temperature, this specific Relio is about 3000 degrees Kelvin, so pretty warm. But this Lume Cube is 6000 degrees Kelvin, so it's much cooler in terms of the color temperature of the light. Now, the Lume Cube is part of a new generation of connected lights, and we are actually testing a bigger, much bigger connected light right now, and we'll publish the review later on. Now, the Lume Cube has an app which can control it. There are 2 versions. There is a free version that you can download and a pro version which you need to pay a few dollars to use, and it lets you basically control several Lume Cubes at the same time. So this is really nice. The app goes for both Android and iOS devices. Let's look at controlling the Lume Cube, and we can start with the 2 buttons on the top. These buttons are covered in rubber, which brings us to another interesting feature of the Lume Cube. This light is waterproof. Not just your run-of-the-mill splash proof, but actually waterproof up to a depth of 100 feet or about 30 meters. Although we didn't test it to this depth, we did run a simple water glass test, which you can see now on the screen, and it worked perfectly, and you can even trigger it remotely while it's in the water using an app from your smartphone. How cool is that? Just remember to fasten the screw on the back of the unit to make sure water will not enter the USB charging port. Who knows, maybe the next version of the Lume Cube we shall see a wireless charging for the light, which will make the USB port unnecessary. Back to the buttons now, and they have no markings, which can actually be quite confusing. Writing, or even better off different colors, would really help here. When you look at the light from the front, the right button turns the light on. You'll need a long press and another one if you want to turn the light off. We're not big fans of this method, but this is probably necessary when you have only 2 water protected buttons. When you press the right button briefly, you get an increase in the light output. You can increase it by about 10% each time until you reach 100% or about 1500 lumens, and then it cycles back to 10%. The left button is used to turn on the optical sensor, which is located in the front of the unit next to the light. You can use it to slave your main flash in your camera or an external flash to the Lume Cube, and they will flash in sync to give you an extra boost of light or light from a different direction. It is a very sensitive sensor, mind you, so be careful when you face the Lume Cube towards a strong light source. It would be nice if there was a way to turn the light sensor on and off from the app and not just directly from the Lume Cube itself, and it would be even cooler if there was an add-on accessory for cameras that will allow you to remotely flash the Lume Cube without the use of the camera's built-in flash or some external flash. On the bottom of the Lume Cube there is a 1/4 inch 20 mount, so you can connect it more or less to anything, which is always useful, and we use it to connect the Lume Cube to quite a few things. You can even create a smartphone Lume Cube rig by adapting a smartphone holder with a 1/4 inch 20 mount. Let's take a quick look at the Lume Cube app. We use both the free and the pro or paid version of the app. The Pro version is very similar to the free version, but it does have a few small additions, including the option to control several Lume Cubes at the same time, plus the option to control the optical trigger, which we mentioned before and we didn't know existed until we used the Pro version. It also has a bar for controlling the duration of the flash when used in stills mode, and a single strength indicator, which is always good. Besides that, they are very similar. The app basically has a number of simple options, including the option to take a picture or a video and share them, turning the Lume Cube on and off, and changing the light level from the app, which is probably the most important part of the app. It also has a red eye switch. As we noted, there is also two other functions in the Pro version, including turning the optical sensor on and off and the light duration. As for battery life, we discovered that the Lume Cube can function for about 12 minutes at full power before it gets too hot and needs to shut itself down to cool. Remember, this is a very small but powerful LED, and although part of the casing is metal, it still gets very hot, so be careful touching it after more than 5 minutes at full power. If you don't use it at full power, and in many situations you don't need to because it's so powerful, you can run it significantly longer. The official number is 2 hours at 50%. We're not sure that it can actually run for that long, but we did discover that you can charge it while it's running using a USB, so you can connect it to a USB battery and it should be able to run for quite some time as long as it doesn't get too hot. Before we wrap things up, we wanted to take a look at the actual performance of the Lume Cube. We shall start just like we did with the pipeline reporter lights and look at the color reproduction. Note that we are not sure what the CRI is, but you can see how the colors look on the screen, and we even have a quick comparison to the Generate LED 7500T and the pipeline reporter lights that we have tested here as part of our ongoing LED light comparison. Just keep in mind that these are all very different lights and that both of the other lights are more expensive, especially the pipeline reporter. Now we move on to take a closer look at how powerful the Lume Cube really is, and you can see on the screen right now the circle of light that it projects from a distance of around 1 meter or 3 feet at full power. Relative to the size of the unit, it is extremely bright, and as you can expect, it is also quite a hard light. You can see now a comparison to the much larger Generate LED 7500T, which at full power is a little bit more powerful than the Lume Cube. Finally, we have the pipeline reporter, which is actually much weaker, and at 1 meter, 2 pipeline reporter lights produce little effective light at all, although it is much softer light, as you can see on the screen. So let's sum things up. The Lume Cube isn't a toy. It's small yet very capable LED with capabilities that even much larger and more expensive lights do not have at this point. It is well built, fully waterproof, and it can be controlled remotely using an easy-to-use app which can operate up to 5 Lume Cubes at the same time. What still needs to be developed in our view are the accessories for the Lume Cube, including gels, light modifiers, and maybe even more importantly a better way to remotely trigger the light when using DSLR or mirrorless cameras. We have talked to the manufacturer about all of these things, and they are looking into them and might have at least a number of new accessories later on this year. We also hope that in the future there will be a larger version of the Lume Cube, building on the same powerful LED technology, waterproof casing, and great wireless control with a larger battery and a better heat dissipation. At the end of the day, we see the Lume Cube as a great backup light that you can just throw in your bag, as a light which can work for some types of product and food photography, and even a general purpose light for stills and video, as long as you understand the limitations of it. So this was our look at the Lume Cube, small battery powered LED light which you can take anywhere and control using your smartphone. Very effective, probably one of many LED lights which are going to be controlled using smart apps on mobile devices in the future. For more, you can see our review on lensvid.com, and of course don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you on the next video.